The river is flowing the wrong way. You stand at the edge of the Mississippi, lantern trembling in your hand, and you watch the impossible happen. The water that has flowed south for as long as anyone can remember, for as long as your grandfather's grandfather can remember, is now rushing north. Against nature. Against everything you have ever known to be true. Behind you, your youngest daughter is crying. She keeps asking why the ground is shaking. You do not have an answer. You are 29 years old, and you have never been more afraid in your life. This is December 1811, and the world, as you understand it, is ending. 3 weeks earlier, life was ordinary. You wake before dawn because the farm demands it. Your wife, Mary, is already stirring the fire, and the smell of corn cakes fills your small cabin. Your 3 children sleep in the loft above, tangled together for warmth. Outside, frost covers the fields you cleared with your own hands, acre by acre, tree by tree. You live in New Madrid, a small settlement along the Mississippi River in what will one day be Missouri. But for now, it is just wilderness. It is just home. The river is your lifeline. Flatboats drift past, carrying goods from the north. Traders stop to barter. News travels slowly here, arriving weeks or months after it happens, but you do not mind. You have everything you need: land, family, a future you are building with your own 2 hands. At night, you sit on the porch and watch the stars. The sky is so clear out here, so impossibly vast, that sometimes you feel like you could fall upward into it. Your oldest son, Thomas, asks you once if the stars ever move. You tell him no, the stars are fixed, the earth is solid. Some things never change. You believe this completely. The first sign comes on December 16th, just after 2 in the morning. You are dreaming about your father when the cabin begins to shake. At first, your sleeping mind folds the sensation into the dream. Your father is shaking your shoulder, trying to wake you. But then the shaking grows violent, and the dream shatters, and you open your eyes to a world that has gone mad. The walls are swaying. The wooden beams above your head are groaning like wounded animals. Somewhere, glass is breaking. Your wife screams your name, and you realize that the floor beneath you is moving, actually moving, rippling like water. You grab Mary and pull her toward the door. The children are screaming in the loft. Thomas is already climbing down, carrying his youngest sister in his arms. Your middle child, Anna, is frozen at the top of the ladder, her eyes wide with terror. You do not remember crossing the room. You only remember reaching her, holding her, running. Outside, the world has become unrecognizable. The ground is splitting open. Great cracks are racing across your fields like black lightning. Trees are falling, not from wind, but from the earth itself, rejecting them, spitting them out. The sound is indescribable. A deep, rumbling roar that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, from beneath your feet and inside your chest. Your neighbor's cabin, a quarter-mile away, is gone. Not collapsed, gone. Swallowed by a fissure that opened beneath it like a hungry mouth. Mary is praying. Thomas is crying. Anna will not let go of your leg. And your youngest, little Sarah, is asking over and over again why God is angry. What did they do wrong? Please make it stop. You do not know how to tell her that you are asking the same questions. The shaking lasts for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. When it finally stops, the silence is almost worse. A heavy, unnatural stillness settles over everything, as if the world is holding its breath. Then the aftershocks begin. They come in waves throughout the night. Some are small, just trembles that rattle the dishes. Others are violent enough to knock you off your feet. Between each one, you wait in terror for the next, unable to sleep, unable to think, unable to do anything but hold your family and watch the darkness. At dawn, you finally see the full scope of the destruction. The landscape has changed. Hills have appeared where there were none before. Ponds have vanished. their water swallowed by the fractured earth. The riverbank where you used to fish with Thomas has crumbled into the Mississippi, taking the old oak tree with it. The tree where you carved your initials when you first arrived, where Mary told you she was pregnant with Thomas, where your children learned to climb. Gone, all of it, erased in a single night. But the strangest thing, the thing that will haunt you for the rest of your life, is the river. You stand at the edge and watch it flow backward. The Mississippi, that mighty current that has shaped this land since before humans walked it, is running upstream. The water churns and boils, brown with mud and debris. You see entire trees floating past, their roots pointing toward the sky. You see the wreckage of flatboats, splintered into kindling. You see things you cannot identify and do not want to. Someone behind you says the word you are all thinking: judgment. This is the end of days. The earthquakes continue for weeks. History will record more than 2,000 tremors between December 1811 and March 1812. 3 of them will be among the most powerful ever recorded in North America, strong enough to ring church bells in Boston, crack sidewalks in Washington, and be felt as far away as New York City. But you do not know any of this. You only know that the ground will not stop moving, that you cannot sleep for more than an hour at a time, that your children have stopped asking when it will end because they no longer believe it will. You build a shelter in the open field, away from the trees that might fall and the buildings that might collapse. You sleep in shifts, one person always awake to watch for danger. You ration what little food you have, because you do not know how long this will last, and you cannot plant crops when the earth itself is unstable. Other families begin to leave. You see them passing in the night, their wagons loaded with whatever they could save, their faces hollow with fear and exhaustion. Some head east, toward civilization. Some head west, into the unknown. All of them are running from something that cannot be outrun. But you stay. Because where would you go? Because this land is everything you have. Because you are too stubborn or too scared or too hopeful to admit that the life you built might be gone forever. Mary begs you to leave. She says the children are not eating. She says Thomas wakes up screaming every night. She says little Sarah has stopped talking entirely, and when you look into her eyes, there is nothing there. Just emptiness. Just silence. You tell Mary that it has to end soon. You tell her that the worst is over. You tell her that God would not take everything from them, not after all they have sacrificed, not after all they have endured. You are not sure you believe it, but you have to say something. On February 7th, 1812, the worst earthquake yet strikes the region. This one is different. This one feels personal. The ground does not just shake. It rises and falls in great waves, like the surface of the ocean. You watch the earth roll toward you, an actual wave of solid ground, and you understand for the first time that nothing is solid. Nothing is permanent. Everything you thought was stable, was fixed, was true, is a lie. The Mississippi, already confused and wild, does something that will be talked about for generations. The riverbed rises. The water is forced back, pushed upstream with such violence that it creates a waterfall flowing in the wrong direction. Islands appear where there was only water before. 2 new lakes form almost instantly, Reelfoot Lake and several others, created by the land sinking and the water rushing in to fill the void. When it is over, the map of America has been rewritten. But you are not thinking about maps. You are thinking about your children's faces, about the way Mary's hands shake, even when everything is still, about the neighbor who lost his mind last week and walked into the river and did not come back. You are thinking about how easy it would be to give up. Spring arrives slowly, reluctantly, as if even the seasons are unsure whether to trust this wounded land. The earthquakes taper off, though they never fully stop. For years, for decades, the ground will tremble occasionally, just enough to remind you that nothing is permanent. You rebuild, not because you are brave, but because there is nothing else to do. You clear the fallen trees and fill the cracks in the earth and plant new crops in soil that has been churned and fertilized by disaster. Your hands blister and bleed and heal and blister again. Thomas grows tall that summer, taller than you, though he still flinches at every rumble. Anna learns to laugh again, though it takes months. And Sarah, little Sarah who stopped speaking entirely, finally says her first word in March. She says home. The new Madrid earthquakes will fade from public memory. Other disasters will come, other tragedies, other moments when the ground shifts beneath our feet. But for the families who lived through those winter months, who watched the river flow backward and the earth open up and the world they knew disappear, nothing will ever be the same. They will tell their children, and their children will tell their children, about the winter the world ended and then did not, about how fragile everything is, about how quickly everything can change. And you, standing at the edge of your rebuilt cabin, watching your children play in a field that was once a nightmare, you understand something that you will carry for the rest of your life. The ground beneath our feet is not solid. It never was. We walk on borrowed stability, on the thin crust of a planet that is always moving, always shifting, always capable of reminding us who is really in control. We build our lives on foundations we cannot see. We plant our roots in soil that can swallow us whole. We tell ourselves that the world is stable, that the river only flows one way, that some things never change. And then the earth moves. And we learn that the only thing we can truly count on is each other. The hands that reach for us in the darkness. The voices that call our names when the silence becomes too heavy. The love that survives when everything else is swept away. Decades later, when travelers pass through New Madrid and ask about the earthquakes, the old-timers will shake their heads and say you had to be there. You had to feel it. You had to watch the river flow backward and wonder if you were witnessing the end of everything or just the beginning of something new. And they will tell you about a family, just an ordinary family, who stayed when everyone else left, who rebuilt when everything was destroyed, who found a way to keep going when the world itself seemed determined to make them stop. They will not remember your name. They will not remember your face. But they will remember what you proved, that ordinary people in extraordinary moments are capable of more than they ever imagined, that the ground may shake, but we do not have to fall, that rivers flow backwards sometimes, and the world ends sometimes, and morning comes anyway. It always comes anyway,